Hey there, everyone. It's Jody Sutter of the Sutter Company. Welcome back to another LinkedIn Live, Just Ask Jody Live. We've got a great guest today who I'll be bringing on momentarily. But just to let you know, it's Russel Wohlwerth. And if you're here, you probably already know that. Russel is one of the top agency consultants in the business. We on the agency side like to think of him as a search consultant, but he really does so much more than that. It's really about strengthening agency client relationships. And this is his third time he's going to join us. I think it's his third time. He's been on with me every November, and it's a great opportunity to ask him about what is working and what's not, and what's happening in the business and market trends that agencies should know about and take advantage of. But before we get to that, I just want to remind you or let you guys know about a couple of quick housekeeping things. First of all, I am going to be reopening enrollment on my new program, the Build, Win, Scale Accelerator. So I feel like I've been talking about this to my network ad nauseum, but if you haven't heard about this, I've been running a pilot program called the Build, Win, Scale Accelerator pilot program. It's with a small group of agencies. I've been sort of testing out this combination of curriculum and coaching, and with a very definite output, which is this new business operating system. It's really ideal for smaller agencies who feel like they need a plan, but not another plan that's just going to sit in a drawer. That agencies who want to be more proactive about business development, but they're not really sure what to do, where to start, and are just in general looking for a more reliable, repeatable approach. So far the pilot's been going great. I'll be taking a short break in early January as I retool a few things. We're going to open it back up. And so if you're interested, scan this code or email me at Jody@the-Sutter-Company and let's talk. Love to tell you more about it and to welcome you in. There will be limited spots available, but yeah, get in soon. All right, let me go back to me and welcome Russel to the stage. By the way, also, let me grab Russel here and unmute him too. Hello, Russel. I just want to let everyone know too that I think we've got a bunch of people who RSVP'd, Russel. So nice to see you. And so please do, if you're watching this live and would like to ask Russel a question, if you can get a word in edgewise, because sometimes Russel and I find it very easy to talk. But I'll be watching the comments. Please do insert a comment or a question, and I promise if it's relevant to the conversation, I will absolutely get to it. But again, thank you for joining me once again on LinkedIn Live. Great to see you.
Thank you. Hey, Jody, can I start off with one thing that you probably get asked the same thing?
Yeah.
And I talk to a lot of agencies every day, every week, every month. And the biggest question I get from most agencies is, what's going on with new business this year? And to put many of your minds at ease, 2025 wasn't a great year. A small percentage, maybe 15% of the agencies I talk with have had a good year, but the vast majority have not had a good year. We're starting to see some more incoming clients come in. 2026 might be better. A lot of the economic uncertainty was behind this. Let's all hope that 2026 is better.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad if you're being pressured to bring in new business. It's a really tough year.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think, we were talking about this a little bit before we went live. Economic uncertainty has been a big theme this year. Do you think part of it is also just like pent up demand that marketers can only wait so long before they do something?
Yes. Typically when we see a slowdown in reviews, that's followed by a tsunami because there's all this, as you say, pent up demand that's not getting taken care of. 2024 wasn't a great year, so I expected 2025 to be a better year, but again, another year. So hopefully 2026 will return to form and make all of us rich.
And you're seeing a little bit of that as you talk to clients, you talk to marketers, that they're saying that they're articulating that they need to get out there a little bit more.
We are getting more incoming inquiries. Q4 is generally not a big time for that. So I'm hoping this is the beginning of something that will be continued into Q1 2026.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I find. I feel like, I don't know if this is the case for Roth Ryan Hayes, but your firm, the cute, like a lot of when I was running business development on the agency side, Q4 was always busy, because there's so many pitches that were wrapping up. They wanted to, get an agency on board before the end of the year. But I also found that I was always expecting January to be equally busy. Let's go, we're starting the year. And there was also, I always call it the January lull, that
Yeah.
it's, yeah. So,
Yeah. Typical.
yeah, as
But
they start to get their own acts in gear and figure out what they need to do. So I'm already going off, I think off topic a little bit, or off plan, off agenda. So it's mid-November at the time of this live, and we've got, I guess the year is basically over, but there's still 4 to 6 weeks left, depending on what holidays you celebrate. And we potentially are seeing a better 2026 ahead, but January is often quiet. What do you think agencies should do right now in order to prepare themselves for a productive 2026 for business development goes?
I would say the first thing to do is get your positioning and act together.
Yeah.
So many, one of the problems is, by the way, 2025 was a really big year, to some degree, a fundamental marketing reset, not because of AI. Yes, AI is affecting everything we do, but the business to a great degree has become much more integrated. And one of the problems is that, everybody seems to be an integrated agency that's digital at the core, and agencies who always sounded the same to some degree are sounding the same much more. So I would spend time, I see agencies spend so much time and effort trying to be different. You don't need to be different. You need to be maybe a bit distinctive, let people know you do this more. But I find that more and more, this is like a Venn diagram that's turned into a black hole, and that little circle in the middle is sucking in everything. So everybody is sounding more the same, which is really difficult.
I want to go back and unpack something that you said. So you said that integration is more important, and yet an agency that comes into the marketplace and says, "Hey, we're integrated," but that message, though, while it might be what marketers need, it's not what they're going to respond to. Is that right? Am I interpreting that correctly?
That's 100% correct. Just saying, hi, we're integrated. It's like, okay, and you would be different than everybody else.
Yeah.
How? I mean, there are certain things that can distinguish you. You can display, how you do your integration, or maybe you have more experience in area A or area B. But this whole, integration, which is being driven, my theory, by modern marketing, everything needs to be working together, and it's much more difficult to coordinate multiple external agencies, and that's why we're seeing a lot more integration happen. And you look and see what's happening to the holding companies. They are integrating, they're turning themselves into connected capabilities rather than a bunch of standalone agencies. So integration is the flavor of the day, and just to say you're integrated just makes you on par with everybody else. You may be doing integration differently, or there may be something distinct. One of the most depressing things about my job is just reading all these agency decks that often one agency seems indistinguishable from the other.
Why? I mean, I feel like we've probably talked about this when you've been on before, and I've got some theories, but why do you think that is? Why is it so difficult? It's almost like this big sheet of plexiglass that probably the agencies can see what's on the other side. They see what they should be doing, but they can't break through that plexiglass. They keep going back to the same old type of language about what they do and who they are and the awards that they win.
I think agencies often get too focused on themselves, talking about, look at us, look at what we do. And at the end of the day, the key to a marketer's heart is addressing their needs. And I know it's really difficult. We ask agencies, don't you have a generic creds deck? And a lot of agencies rightfully say, no, it's really hard to put together.
That's good, because I am not a big fan of the creds deck. So it's nice to know that there's some agencies that we don't have it.
It's tough to do that because you do what I call a kitchen sink approach. You don't know quite what somebody may be looking for, so you throw
Yeah.
everything in there. But it's helpful to have a
Okay.
creds deck to
Mm.
some degree. But
Okay.
when you're working on a specific pitch with a marketer, you really need to focus on what the marketer needs are. And
Right.
to the degree that you can tie whatever you say about you to a marketer need, that makes a connection, as opposed to just being, well, this is an overstatement, obsessed with yourself. But I think many
And
agencies do that.
I also think it's not always, it may appear on the surface that it's about ego and being proud of themselves and being overly confident in themselves, but I actually find in reality that's not the case. That it's almost belies a lack of security and also this sort of generosity. The more generous we can be, the more we can show that we're like willing to give over all this information. But even going back to something like integration, what I've started doing with the clients, the agencies that I work with, is if I'll say, okay, you're an integrated agency, why is that important? Why does the client care? And I'm really trying to get like that underlying reason. Integration is important because maybe I'd actually
Yeah.
turn that over to you. How would you fill in that blank these days as far
Yeah.
as your clients
Well,
go?
I mean, integration is important because, first of all, it saves time. There's a lot less missteps, and you're
Mm,
addressing an integrated brief, and
yeah,
everybody working together at the same time, rowing in the same direction. It's just more effective.
yeah,
I just want to go back for a minute.
yeah.
What you said about, I know it's not about ego. I think agencies just are not quite sure what to say. So let's talk
Yes,
about what we know,
yes.
us. And it comes off as being obsessive. I believe that we're, post pandemic, in a period of, mass ADA, and
Mm,
the people that I work with, our clients, the marketers we work with, myself, my partner, Matt, Jonathan, everybody on our team, we all, our patience is worn thin in reading a whole lot. You've got to be quick and to the point. If you're a great writer, that's very helpful. If you're a great art director, you can
mhm.
put together a story. But people's tolerance for hearing your story is greatly reduced, particularly if your story is the same as everybody else's.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I don't think I believe that one person's story is the same as everyone else's, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't sound the same. So that also says to me that agency leaders are not leaning into their own story. Either they feel like it's not significant enough or not positive enough, and so that could be a missed opportunity. That these days is actually even more important to lean into that story.
I agree.
Yeah. Um, Let me going back to some of the trends. So the marketers want more integration because they don't want to have to manage multiple agencies. They want things to happen quickly. That's understandable. What else are you seeing in the marketplace? I think one of the things we talked about beforehand was about social media, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just about every brief we get is social media and influencers. So there's been a huge
Mm,
change
yeah,
to, to the media channel. I mean, we're still seeing,
yeah.
you know, videos. We still have clients who, depending on the target audience, are in, linear TV. But so social is basically table stakes these days,
Okay.
where, for a long time it wasn't. And it's just how most marketers like to conduct their commerce, and influencers too. So it's been a big change there. And if,
Hmm.
which to me leaves an opening for other agencies. We're talking about
Yeah.
everybody wants an integrated agency. There are single purpose agencies that have a really great specialty. And if you can find
Hmm.
one, and a marketer needs one, if you do something that nobody else does, you're really valuable. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the
Yeah.
best positioning to have, but we find agencies that really do something broad,
Yeah.
wide, deep, excellent. And it's such a diamond, in the rough there, because finding somebody that is a true subject matter expert is really difficult, because everybody wants to be an integrated agency.
Right. See, that is so interesting. I think probably a real challenge as far as communications for agencies goes. If integration is needed, then you want to say you're an integrated agency. And yet, if you do something really well, that's important, that marketers need, in the end, you might be better sticking with that specialty and being able to work well with other agencies that are already working with that marketer.
Yeah, well, a fundamental mistake that I see agencies make, we get a call, oh, I love this brand. We own 6 of these, or our whole 3 generations of our family have been using this. That is not a great reason to pitch. If your agent, I find agencies fall in love with the brand and aren't necessarily equipped with the credentials and the capabilities. And I think that's an original sin for a lot of agencies. They fall in love, particularly with, the more, not necessarily the bigger brands, but the more iconic brands. And I see a lot of agencies who I don't think read really hard about what the client needs and just saying, oh God, let's take a shot. If you're not checking all the boxes off, I would save your money and wait till an opportunity came along that, is more, appropriate for your agency capabilities.
So in other words, they pursue an opportunity with a high profile, kind of attractive brand. I don't know, Coca-Cola, Levi's, whatever, Tesla. And maybe Tesla is more attractive to some people than others these days. But and rather than thinking about like what are the ramifications, or if I can maybe bring up, I know a client that you've worked with in the past and probably still work with a lot, Porsche, that's the kind of brand that most people want to work with, and yet they're not. Maybe what you're saying is they're not necessarily saying, what does Porsche need? What kind of business does Porsche run? Porsche sells through a network of dealers. What do we need to do? How does marketing need to serve that?
Porsche is a difficult one. Yes. I mean, let's just use them because we recently finished a project for them. So everybody's like, we have 6 Porsches in our garage, and I'm getting, they're based in Atlanta, and I get an agency that's on the West Coast saying, look, we don't have an office. We only have 28 people, but we'd be willing to build an office. It's like, if you win this account, you need to get ready to work on day one, not build an office. So, that's perhaps the most extreme example because it is, one of the world's more iconic brands. And, again, people are looking at it as consumers, not agency owners. It's like, yes, that's great, but we probably don't have the experience. So, but I do see a lot of that with people are thinking like consumers, or, individuals are thinking as consumers and not as new business people or owners of agency. Pursue a brand because it's right for your agency.
Yes. Yeah. I can also understand why an agency wants to do that. One, because it feels personal. We've got 3 Porsches in the garage. Lucky you. Which also, so one, it's going to be flattering to Porsche, might be the assumption. And 2, we are already consumers of the brand, so we understand it. So I can see why that's attractive. I'm not sure where my question is going here, but
Can I interrupt you for a moment? Because one of the problems is when we work with these passion brands, it's great that you have insight, but a lot of times the objective of the marketer is to put new people in the funnel that never considered the brand before. If you've got 6 in your garage and you're totally in love, you are already been brainwashed. We need somebody who doesn't necessarily have one in the garage and never considered looking at it. So it's great to understand it, but sometimes that passion is misplaced.
Interesting.
Because all the passionate people buy over and over again.
Yeah. So if you were that agency thinking, I really want to work with Porsche, you might be better off coming in with a message more around, again, either how cars are sold and understanding that and the challenges around just selling cars in general, or how like gas powered cars versus electric, and how a Porsche might have to. I mean, Porsche probably has a great selection there, but it's really around applying their expertise to a smart assumption about what Porsche is probably struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very well said. One of the mistakes we see when agencies respond to RFIs,
Mm,
they try to tell us what the category is. And, with AI,
mm,
everybody can research everything. And it's like, okay,
yes.
you obviously spent a lot of time on AI. And
Yes.
that doesn't win. Don't tell us we know what the category is. Tell us about you. And it's finding that unique experience we know, this to me versus talking about the whole automotive category and where it's going combustion versus electric
Yeah.
is an agency talking about, we happen to know
Mm,
that you have a less than ideal ratio of high income women. And that's one of the things that our agency specializes in. We know that you want to get more of those
mhm, mhm.
consumers, at least at the top of the funnel. Having these insights, that's what makes clients go, wow, this is a really smart agency.
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
people try and give us the history of the category. That's not a great way to do it unless you have some unique insights.
Yes. Yeah, and I think sometimes agencies maybe again, a little bit of that insecurity there that says, "Well, we don't really know that much about this category yet, so we have to sound like we know more than we do." And they don't trust their own experience. I think sometimes it's a little bit of like a kind of an attitude or mindset shift to be able to go in and say, and I'm certainly paraphrasing here, you wouldn't use these exact words, but to go in and say, "Hey, marketer, we definitely don't know everything about your brand or your category. Here's what we do know. And based on our experience working with brands that we see are similar in these ways, we think you're probably struggling in the same way. And we're really good at solving this problem. Are you interested?"
I mean, that's a
And
good new business person attacks it, at a really different level than everybody else is
mm,
going one way. And by the way, if you don't know anything about a category, chances are you should pass on the opportunity or
that's true too. Yeah.
not send us
Yeah.
a note. But just having those unique insights or just really shows a deep thinker. And by the way, we sometimes get clients who say, look, we want somebody who's never worked in this category. Everybody is doing the same category,
Yes.
conventions, and we want somebody who can step outside of that. So it
Right.
happens on both sides.
That's
But
interesting. So,
my point though is bottom line is I think, we get so many calls for the opportunities we have, and most agencies are really not looking deep at why they should be
mhm,
pitching the business. They want the business, they want the logo, they want, the revenue. I completely understand that, but don't really have the qualifications. So think
yeah.
long and hard about that because this is
Or they're just seeing the potential revenue as an opportunity. So we got to go, like, we've got to spread ourselves really thin because God forbid we should miss out on pitching for an opportunity. And rather than saying, where should we focus? Where does it make the most sense to maybe invest more time in building a relationship longer term? And I know that sometimes, I don't know, I struggle to come up with a really good argument,
well,
but it's hard when you see like, oh, but there's a pitch, there's an RFP right over there. We should go get it.
let's go for it. I love
Yeah.
the discriminating agency. And by discriminating agency, I
Mm,
mean,
okay.
we'll call somebody and they'll be like, why'd you call us? What about
Yeah.
us? And it's
Yes.
like kind of playing a little bit hard to get. And I'm thinking, wow, I, I think that's really smart and impressive to me about rather than
Yeah.
most agencies. Oh my God, thank you so much for calling us. We never thought you'd call.
Right.
I'm not saying, push everything away, but I like those agencies that are discriminating. What
Yes.
about our capabilities had you put us in your long list?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're putting me on the spot here, but I like
And
it.
if so agencies out there, if you're not already asking that, make sure you ask that. But I mean, I think it's both a little bit like, yeah, if you want, let's sort of like you want to be a member of a club that would never have you as a member. But yes, so it's like maybe it's a little playing hard to get. But I would also bet that those agencies, the people that you're talking to there, are also smart enough to know, like, we need to know, like, in order for us to have a good chance of winning this business, we need to know why they like us, and to go in and emphasize something that they're qualified to do, but maybe isn't the reason why that marketer has chosen them. So it might be, yeah, we want you because you did a really great job of reaching a female audience, and we're no good at that. I think then you say, all right, well, that's becomes one of our win themes. It's one of the things that we will emphasize in our pitch.
I call it three-dimensional chess because sometimes I
Yeah,
think,
you
God,
like,
it
yeah.
seems impossible to win a piece of new business. It's like you got to do good RFI, you got to do chemistry meeting, you got to do good financials, all this. It really is hard. But if you can, I love when we get just a really deep thinking agency and I just sit there smiling, reading their initial submission. I'm like, God, this company, these people are smart.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you this question. How much it sounds like you read submissions because you have to. How much do your clients actually read an RFI submission or an RFP submission?
That's a great question. In fact, we just had an agency who hasn't worked with us a lot, and they asked the same question. They said, each consultant is different. And they said, do people really read this? I have been with a company where nobody read them. We really push our clients to read them. And that's why we say keep them short, because they got to read it too. So yes, we do. And it's surprising what clients play back, when we have a meeting following all the submission of the initial RFIs. And you can see who cut through the clutter and who didn't.
So I know, going back to storytelling, and then I want to ask you another question. Going back to storytelling, one of the things that why I also sort of really sell storytelling is because of those situations when you're in a room with your colleagues, it's easier to remember information that was communicated in some sort of a narrative form. And I think that's something else a lot of agencies don't think about. Like those folks on the marketer side, unless you're like pitching a one-person company, there will be multiple people who will have a say in this decision. They will be sitting down and they will be comparing notes. What did you like about this presentation? What did you like about the RFP? Another question, which do you prefer or not? If it's a written submitted document, do you want it in like slide form, like landscape PowerPoint or Keynote, or do you want it in a Word document, or Google Doc portrait format?
This is switched around in the many years I've been doing this. The majority of RFI submissions we get, and we don't generally say submit it in any particular form. Yeah. The majority are more slide and landscape form. That's not to say that a PowerPoint in portrait, a Word document, to me, it's about the art direction. These things are hard to read. And again, generally we're looking at 8 to 10 agencies in a long list. We don't like to go too much longer because it's really difficult for us and our clients to wrap our heads around too many agencies. But this is where the art direction and the writing comes in, to get our attention. I've always said these documents and RFI submission should be written to be scanned, not to be curled up with it like a good book. Yep. So you got to communicate fast. So, and if you want to be different, you use Word, just, have, again, great art direction, great writing that's engaging. Yes. Looking at pages with no paragraph breaks is not that. Fair
enough. I sometimes think agencies go too far the other side. And when I do say like a materials audit for an agency, and I'll look at a proposal that was submitted as a 80-page slide deck, and sometimes there's a sense of like, well, if we just show them great work, that's all we need to do. And I think you really need to add context, and context is you usually need to use some form of written language to provide context. Here's why we're showing you this case study. Here's why they went with a purple logo. Yeah, show the client how you made that decision, how you helped their client make the decision.
Like thinking it's all about great creative is very dated thinking, and depending on the review, But I would say that because I talked about the mass ADD earlier, we ask between 10 and 13 or 14 questions. It depends. Each review is a little bit different. We're asking agencies to limit their responses to about 30 pages. And if not including page headers and title page, and we'll still get it. We just had one recently where we asked to keep it around 30 pages. Some agencies were 75 to 80 pages and 8-point type. And to me, that's an extreme example. If you got to go to 8-point type, that says to me that you're communicating too much.
Yeah, and it's also like, what is that? What is the implicit message to the reader? We don't care. We don't care about making this easy for you to consume. We just want you to consume as much information as possible about us as possible.
Jody, that's such a great point. Think about the poor reader, uh,
Yeah.
because people, at least for our company, we read these, and our marketer clients read them. So please be kind.
Yeah. Yeah. We are at the bottom of the hour already. At the end of our 30 minutes. So, hey, folks, if there are folks who have a question, now's the time to submit it. I hope that I hope my comments are working, because usually we do get questions coming in for you, Russell. So I'm sorry that's not happening this time. But I think we've talked a lot about stuff that's valuable. If it's okay going over really quickly, I've got two final questions, because I know that AI is not the only thing influencing our business, but it is influencing our business. So how do you find AI playing into business development and pitching, and what should people be doing what should they stop doing that maybe they're doing now?
I see clearly a lot of AI being used for research, which is good and bad. As I was
Hmm.
saying earlier,
Yeah.
um, we like to use AI, although we have clients who don't want their information in the public realm and say you are
Mm,
forbidden in our contract to use any AI, because we don't, large language model, who knows where what you've
yep.
just uploaded to simplify and clarify where that's going. So we use AI a lot. Agencies are always surprised, because we use AI when we're permitted to do so, to sort of summarize your RFI. And I'm kind of
Hmm.
surprised when the AI spits back that this could have been better by being more focused and comprehensive. I'm thinking, wow, AI is giving you a bad grade, but
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. That's a good exercise for agencies to do when you finish with your RFI or the first draft. Maybe have your LLM analyze it. What would Roth Ryan Hayes say? What would a search consultant say?
yeah, I mean, it's like, what are the main points? And hopefully the main points that AI finds are the main points that you
Yeah.
wanted to get out of there. I mean,
Yes.
AI is having all kinds of impact. The biggest, impact, unfortunately, is with billing. We were talking about this earlier, the
Yeah.
fact that, you know, AI creates a disincentive for an hourly rate because it's making you work that much faster. And a question that I always ask agencies is, what are you doing with all the time that AI has saved? How are you investing that time? And usually the response is, that's a really good question.
Have you ever gotten a good answer where you're like, yes, that's what I was
Yeah, I
looking for?
have. I don't
Yeah.
recall, but I have
Yeah.
gotten a
Yeah.
really good answer about how people are using it. My concern about AI is that it's homogenizing everybody. We're all
Yeah.
dipping our fingers into the same pool and coming back. It's
Yeah.
like with similar conclusions and whatnot. And I think AI can be used as the basis for some good original thinking. Be
Yes.
careful about over relying on AI. I'm fascinated by it, and
Yeah.
it's really good. But a lot of times the responses I get back are somewhat generic and
Yeah.
disappointing. But then I'll go deeper and deeper.
Yeah. I think it all comes back to a lot of it comes back to the prompts and giving it good information. I know one things that I've been working with it a lot is case studies and helping my clients write better case studies with it. I think one of the things that's the weakest point in most agency case studies is going back to the story. There's the context gets lost, the narrative thread gets lost. Knowing the difference between like describing the problem and describing the solution, and then telling people how the solution was actually implemented, it sounds so obvious, but it gets lost. And
Yeah.
so what I found is that I can work with even if it's either a messy first draft or even a finished case study that needs to be polished, and go through using use ChatGPT. That's usually what I use, just to say, turn it into a narrative, retain all the information, don't edit anything, assume you can't edit anything out, but just turn this into more of a flow. And that's been very useful. And I think that there have been a few times that it's helped my clients immensely.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how I used to be a writer, and I consider myself a good writer, and
Mhm.
I like to have AI polish my stuff, my writing, and I think, wow,
Yeah.
that's good. Just
Yeah.
remember though that less is more. Again, mass
Yeah.
ADD. If there's anything you remember from our 30 to 45 odd minutes here today,
Yeah.
is be brief and to the point in
Yeah.
your business responses.
Yeah. Yes. Be brief and to the point. And I think one thing at a time, it's if the question then is like, well, I have so much to say. What do I know? How do I edit it down? I think also, especially in reviews that you run, it's a multi-step process, and really think critically about what's the information that the marketer needs to know now. I know it's about winning the business ultimately, but for a process like this, the step-by-step buyer's journey, ultimately, it's more important to know what do I need to do to get to the next step.
Exactly. You don't have to win it in the RFI. In fact, a lot of times, whoever did the best RFI tends to sort of slow down. It's like the horse race.
Yeah.
So this is really difficult, but I've often observed that the agencies that are just enough to be included in each round, and each round get a little better, end up winning the business, because the clients are like, wow, we threw them in, we weren't sure. And each time they've become better and more knowledgeable, and it's,
interesting.
it's amazing. So it's a hard strategy to follow, but
yes,
I think the strategy of trying to, just blow up everything and ace it is, be really good.
Yeah.
But you don't need to ace, because it's an iterative process, and each stage is designed to show something different about your agency. And it's rare in the reviews that I've run, over 200, that an agency that's on the top at every single stage of a search process.
Very interesting. I think that's a huge insight. So hopefully people are still watching this, because that's, what a huge insight. Russel, thank you so much for this. I don't want to take too much more of your time. For people who would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that is both effective for them and respectful of your time and the bandwidth?
The most dreaded question.
Sorry.
So we hear from a lot of agencies, and by the way, my barometer for new business health is the number of agencies that reach out to us. So some weeks,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So less healthy, more agencies reach out?
Yep. Like we're hearing from sometimes as many as 50 agencies a week. So we have on our website, we have something for you to sign up and be in our database. The questions I hate, by the way, I mean, you have to email us. We don't know you exist. Chances are low that you'd ever be in a review we do, because we don't know who the hell you are. But when you send us an email, thank you.
That's your website. And I'm going to should I throw up your email, or is there more of a general email that they should use?
It's Russell at Roth Ryan Hayes.
Okay, we can get that going there too.
Oh, well, look at you're all prepared. A couple of things not to do. First of all, some of the things that really irritate me is agencies that every month say, "Do you have anything for me?" And I'm like, you know what? I am not your unpaid agent. We don't take money from agencies. We only represent marketers. So don't do that. That's like the laziest new business piece. Another thing that irritates me is, hey, we'd love to find out about Roth Ryan Hayes. Well, that's why we put up a website,
I know, by the way, never say we'd love to. Just ban that. Just strike that from all your, because whoever you're communicating with doesn't care what you'd love to do. But
and I'll give you two other quick ones. I mean, one is that, hey, we'd love to talk with you about, there's that, we'd love to, but that's generally the parlance that's used.
Of course, you'd love to talk to Roth Ryan Hayes.
What's happening in the industry? What are your observations? And it's like, we spend our time, we talk with agencies, spend a lot of our time with clients. And then when agencies ask me to read the ad and then get back to them with my opinion, I'm not a columnist for Ad Age. And, to me, that's, I don't know, it just shows, I don't know, not a disrespect, but sort of, we're focusing on servicing our clients. So asking for me to review your ad and get back to you and discuss it, I don't, with 50 agencies knocking on the door every week, I don't have time to read all that stuff. So please be, a little bit more cognizant of our time, and we're busy people, but just say, hey, we'd love to get on your radar screen. Even though we both agree we don't like credentials decks, send us a deck, register, and our database. Those are all great things to do.
Yeah, I know that many consultancies like you have a database, and I would also just say for any agencies out there that are serious about building relationships with search consultants, go to their websites first, see if they have a link for an agency database, and do that first, so that when the person says, when someone like you, Russell, says, have you put your information in our database, the answer should be yes. Because I think it's a small thing, but it probably would make you much more likely to
Yeah.
say, okay, well, now I want to talk to you because you've actually done some due diligence. You've actually done some homework and prepared me. So,
And visit on LinkedIn. One of the things I'd love to hear all about you. I subscribe to the expensive version of LinkedIn. That's got, it's like you're asking me to do your job. If I had nothing to do, I'd be happy to talk with agencies all day long. So little things like that show me that you're not just respectful of our time, but you're actually doing the homework versus asking me to do the
and
homework.
come to our annual November LinkedIn Live with Russell, and you'll learn more about Roth Ryan Hayes.
That's right. So those are just some tips of how, but email is the best way. And like I say, when we're busy and we're getting all these emails from agencies, sometimes it takes quite a while for us to get back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's very nice of you to make yourself available. Again, thank you so much for being here. And I think this is always such a useful conversation. I feel like every year there's a lot of stuff that we talk about. The same stuff comes up, but every year there's also something a little bit different, new challenges. And so I'm just so appreciative, and hopefully everyone who's here today and who's going to be watching this recording, a lot of people watch the recordings, will be appreciative as well. So thank you so much for that, Russell.
Thank you, Jody. It's great to see you, and everybody have a good Thanksgiving.